Okay, so this is 7.2, addition and subtraction formulas. And don't forget all these formulas from 7.1. Might have already written them down, but if not, pause right now and write them down. The only ones that we probably haven't used yet are the cofunction identities, but everything else we've already talked about in 7.1. So pause and write these down. Okay, the next set of formulas that we're going to be using, or identities, are the sum and difference formulas. So pause and write these down. Okay, so basically these formulas are for things that are not on the unit circle. For example, 15 degrees. If I want to find what cosine of 15 degrees is, I cannot find 15 degrees on my unit circle. But I know that 45 subtract 30 equals 15 degrees. So I can use one of these subtraction formulas. If I want to find cosine of 15 degrees, I can use this sucker, cosine A minus B, and say cosine 45 minus 30 is equal to, and then plug in the 45 for the A, the 30 for the B, the 45 for the A, the 30 for the B. So all these formulas are used to find sine, cosine, tangent of something that's not on the circle, but can be a combination of something on the circle. So let's start out with something easy. This goes along with your homework. Let's try sine 30 degrees plus 45. Well, they already told you the two angles that have to add up, 30 and 45. And this does not mean I take sine of 30, 1/2, and add it to sine of 45, square root of 2 over 2. I do not just add those values together. I have to use the formula. So let's look for the formula that matches this. It says sine, so I'm looking at the sine formulas. It says something plus something. So I'm looking at the formula. It says something plus something. And let me go ahead and write this beast down. It's this first formula. It says sine of capital A plus capital B equals sine capital... Oh, gosh. Sorry. FedEx man. Sine A cosine B plus cosine A sine capital B. Barney, calm down. Okay, and here A is 30 degrees. B is 45. Okay, so the left side of the formula is what they give you. And the right side of the formula is the part we do. So let's see here. I'm going to plug in the A and the B. I have sine of capital A, 30, cosine capital B, 45, plus cosine capital A, 30, sine capital B, 45. And now we look on our unit circle. And don't forget, on the unit circle, cosine is X and sine is Y. So let's see here. Sine of 30 degrees is 1/2. Look at your unit circle or Google one. Cosine of 45, that's the X value, is square root of 2 over 2, plus cosine 30. Cosine, that's the X value of 30, square root of 3 over 2, times sine of 45, that's the Y value, square root of 2 over 2. Okay, now when we multiply fractions, we multiply left to right. So 1 times square root 2 is square root 2, all over 2 times 2, 4, plus sine, let's see, house 3 times house 2, you multiply the insides. and you get square root 6 all over 2 times 2, 4. Okay, then, let me zoom in a little bit. Okay, there we go. Then, since they have the same denominators, when you add, you keep the denominator 4, but you cannot add that square root 2 and square root 6. So you just rewrite it on the top with a plus sign. So this is what sine of 30 plus 45 degrees is. What? Okay, let's go to cosine. Cosine 15. So we have to figure out what two angles add or subtract to 15. So I think I'm going to use subtraction, and I'm going to use 45 minus 30. Or you could use 60 minus 45. Or you could use 150 minus 135. It doesn't matter as long as your two angles subtract to be 15. So I'm going to say this is cosine 45 minus 30, and that makes A of 45 and B of 30. And now I'm going to look for a formula that says cosine and subtraction. So let me look at my formulas. Barney. So here's sine, here's cosine, and I'm looking for something minus something, or A minus B. So I'm going to write down this formula. Cosine, cosine, sine, sine. So let's see here. Cosine of A minus B is cosine, cosine, plus sine, sine. Now we're going to look at our circle and write things down. So let's remember cosine. Whoa. I accidentally wrote this in. I meant to say AB and then sine A, B. You know what I was doing, I think. Yeah, good. And then now let me plug in my numbers. Cosine 45, cosine 30, plus sine 45, sine 30. And on the unit circle, 45 is the x value, so at 45 degrees, cosine is the x value, so at 45 degrees, cosine is square root of 2 over 2. Cosine of 30, that's the x value of 30, is square root of 3 over 2. Plus sine of 45 is square root of 2 over 2. Sine of 30 is the y value at 30, so 1/2. Okay, now to multiply fractions, you multiply left to right. House times house is square root 6 over 2 times 2, 4, plus square root 2 times 1, square root 2 over 2 times 2, 4. And then I'm running out of room, so I'm just going to go side to side. You add these, and the bottom stays the same, 4. And the top, those houses cannot add, so you just write square root 6 plus square root 2. And it should not matter what you put first, the 6 or the 2. And that's the answer. It looks just like this first sucker, and that's because most of them are very, very similar. Okay, let's go to sine 75. I need to find two things that add or subtract to 75. Well, let's check it. This is the same as sine of 30 plus 45. Or you could do or you could subtract anything to get 75. It doesn't matter. Okay, so anyway, in sine of 30 plus 45, I think we already did it in this first example. It's square root 2 plus square root 6 over 4. And then sometimes, watch out, your homework does something weird. They take this and, like they take the 4 out, because this is kind of like pretend 1 over 4 times this stuff in the top. And the homework might rewrite this as 1/4 times square root 2 plus square root 6. So be careful on your homework. If I would look at view an example, and if the very last answer looks like this with this crazy 1/4, I would do that.